I would love to just get into all of your life stories. Jake, you have only 5 minutes since you've already been on. Okay, so I'm gonna cut you off at 5 minutes. If you go
Okay.
longer than 5 minutes, no, just joking.
Yes. That's
But
fair. That's
but
fair.
we'll start from here. So we'll go. Where are you from? Where you grad? And what
Oh,
was it like growing up?
where I'm from. I consider myself from here,
Mm-hmm.
but as you kind of mentioned before, so I was born in West Covina, but I moved here when I was 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up on the east side, Hawaii Kai, went to
Well,
Kaiser High
yeah,
School.
Kaiser grads, you and I.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Mhm,
right.
yeah.
Yes, yeah. All these wonderful people come from Kaiser.
Yeah.
But yeah, so public school, and met these guys when I was, I think, 15, 16, something like that. And yeah, and what you want more like?
And what was it like growing up?
what
What
was it
were
like growing
you
up? Oh,
into?
man, I guess I would call it typical, Hawaii kid. Like used to surf and fish and play music and do
Mhm.
all that stuff in the 90s. There's no phones, so couldn't say that I did any social media or anything like that, right? But yeah, it was just now that I think about it, growing up, once I started playing ukulele, everything was music.
Mm-hmm.
Music, music, music. And
When did you first get into the ukulele?
it was 7th grade because people start. So at that time was, I'm trying to think, it was like 1990 or 91 or something like that. And then Kyle Creative Boys became real big time. And so everybody started carrying out ukuleles at school. And so, your friends were playing, and so they, oh, okay, John, why don't you try? So they hand you the ukulele, and you kind of, and then so from there I started playing around, and then started singing with them and stuff, and yeah, that's how I started getting into it. But and then I met this guy, and we started
Student
playing.
government.
Yeah, student council.
I heard
I always say
it's the darkiest origin story, right?
darkest origin story in all of Hawaiian music. And then he used to work with Lopaka, so that's how the whole thing went.
Okay,
As
cool.
far as
So-
the music scene, but yeah.
Okay, so what about you, Lopaka? Where are you from? Where you grad? What was it like growing up?
Actually, I was born here.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom in 1980, she had got blessed with the Hawaiian homestead land on
Mhm.
Molokai. So moved to Molokai when I was 5 years old. I got raised on Molokai until I graduated from Molokai High School and came here to go to school to University of Hawaii. I was one of the first students or first ever to have a music scholarship to go to University of Hawaii. On Molokai. It's sad to say that nowadays there's no music program, but I came here for that. And then during school, as a struggling college student, had a part-time job working at House of Music, where I met Jake, and I was downstairs curating or helping out Lydia Luden do the Hawaiian music section and the world section downstairs, and he was upstairs doing the ukulele and instrument maintenance. And he used to collaborate with Sean Ishimoto, better known as BB Sean, a classic person that was very into, which I didn't know back then, but now is my cousin, Ben Cruz, and the Kyle Creator Boys.
Wow.
And he would they would just jam upstairs, and he introduced me to Jon Yamasato to come and jam with them in some of their little sessions in Hawaii Kai at his house.
Nice.
That
Yeah.
turned into like, hey, Lopas, you want to come and jam with us and create a group?
we had a percussionist at the time, which is my friend Brandon. Shout out to Brandon. But yeah, but he was just like kind of just in the band because we hang out together, And then so one day we were like, oh, maybe Lopaka can come. Jake was like, maybe Lopaka can come in and teach Brandon some beats or something like that. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then Lopaka shows up and we start playing. I'm like, holy cow, this guy's good. Why do we have this guy? Can we get this guy in the band?
So Brandon's not your friend anymore.
No,
I'm
Brandon
just
is
joking.
Brandon was super cool about it, like because he knew he wasn't,
Uh-huh.
In fact, I'll tell these guys. So, but you remember Brandon, right?
Of course.
You know how so Brandon, he's one of my best friends, and he's like the super chill Hawaiian guy, and just like Brandon. So like last year or maybe the year before, I get a call on like Monday, and he lives in Florida now, and he's like, "Hey, John, what you doing? What you doing Thursday?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know, nothing," because it was like December, right? So it was Christmas time. He's like, "Yeah, getting married. You want to come to the wedding?" And I'm like, Oh yeah, I guess that's Brandon. You know, like he's just so chill
Wow.
and stuff. And I was like, okay, so yeah, I went to his wedding and stuff. But
Like a week's notice.
yeah, not even though it's like 3 days
3
notice,
days.
you know. So yeah, that's how he is. But,
Okay.
Yeah, but that's how Lopaka, because we were like, oh my gosh, if we could get Lopaka in the band, like he's so, and Lopaka was already playing professionally.
Yeah,
You know, when we
your
started.
dad or something was like a
Yeah, but
into music, right? Yeah.
Opened up the doors. He was with Martin Daniel and Arthur Lyman back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Yeah, right before statehood. In a genre of Hawaiian music, it's not really popularized nowadays, but called exotica. I think nowadays, but anyways, yeah, he Martin Denny saw that he could do some natural bird calls over some of these bossas and some Latin tunes that he had when he was performing in Waikiki during Hilton Hawaiian Village or down Beachcomber or some other places as a solo pianist. My dad was throwing papers during Waikiki, like a paperboy route, and then he heard him playing the piano. He was like, "Oh man, can I bring my bongos?" And my dad is, a lot of people think my dad is local Hawaiian, but he's actually 100% Puerto Rican, just plantation era around here. But anyways, when he heard all of the Martin Dane playing his music, he, as a Puerto Rican, especially growing up Kalihi, he's like, "Oh my God, I gotta get." So he busts his bongos and starts playing with him, and Martin Dane's like, "Hey man, why don't you come back next week and bring something?" And a little bit more spiffy because he was in his clothes. He came back with more tight suit that's like ironed out, everything. And Martin Day did a tune, and my dad just did a bird call just to, And then Martin Day's like, "Oh my God, we got to use that." They play to make a long story short, there's this song called Quiet Village, which made Exotica huge. And it was because of the significance of my father going back and forth with these bullfrogs at the Hilton Hawaiian Village or something. Every time Martin Denny would play this bass line, doo-doo, 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 then hear, and then my dad would go, and all this kind of different stuff, and then he would go back and forth, and then Martin Day was like, "What's going on here?" So then he was able to create this natural form into the composition. And music was created exotic music. So I was blessed to take some of that. I mean, when I met these guys during college, I was University of Hawaii. It wasn't really into the radio because I was so into marching band stuff, all the jazz, everything. But then when I met these guys, it was a relief. In an opposite musical level, because these guys were stoked just to jam and and I didn't know that they were into this band called Cog Critter Boys. And like I said, when he heard me playing some of my stuff, he was like, "Oh my God!" For me, it was a refresher to see guys that was into music, not in the way that I was serious in the other side of music, in the college side.
Yeah,
which made me want to get together with these guys more. So almost every Saturdays, I would go to his house, I swear to God, maybe 8 o'clock to 5 in the afternoon.
Practice all day.
Yeah. And then this guy had, the first time, he used techie equipment back in the day. The first person to have a CD burner, you can record CDs.
We make our own little demos.
You two gave me your CDs, and I'm just like, I don't know if my truck has a CD. I was thinking that. I was like, how am I gonna play this? I gotta find something.
And I'm going back to Molokai. I was showing my friends over there. There was a trip, and I was like, "Oh, wow." I went to at the time called Critter Boys. Well, he's not called Critter Boys, but my friend, but listen to him on the ukulele. Oh, mean, but then later on,
That is Jake. Actually, these two guys are really good spear fishermen.
Oh, really?
If you didn't know, yeah, because Jake spends a lot of time on Molokai too, so they get out there. Yeah.
Oh. Well, I guess we can segue into Jake. Where are you from? Where you grad? What was it like? Do you mind bringing your mic closer?
Yeah, I was born and raised, in Honolulu, and my mom started teaching me when I was 4 years old. She played the ukulele, taught me a few chords. I just fell in love with it. A lot of my inspiration came from, Ota-san was probably my biggest inspiration for playing ukulele. He and Uncle Eddie Kamai. And then as I got older, of course, Peter Moon, right? Israel Kamaka Viole, Royce Sakuma was my teacher, and then which later led to Kelly Boyd DeLima, Jesse Kalima, and then bringing it back to Troy Fernandez. I remember hearing the first time I heard Kao Creator Boys, I was actually on Molokai. I was visiting my grandparents. And remember back then there was the TV guide. right?
Yeah, it just
yeah,
keeps
you would,
going,
and then they would
scrolling.
always
Yeah.
have like all this local
Yeah.
music, and so I remember watching the TV guide, and then Tropical Hawaiian Day came on, and
Oh.
then I heard I heard the singing, right, and then I heard the ukulele riff, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I heard da na 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 da 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 da. I was like, what's that? I'd never heard anything like that. I was like, whoa, what is he doing? And so that was my first I guess introduction, to the Cow Critter Boys. Yeah, because then when I got back home, then I looked them up, and then I found out my former teacher Roy Sakuma was producing them and all that, right? But anyways,
so
and then fast forward from that moment when I was in I went to Kaimuki High School, graduated 94, and but that's where I met John. John was at Kaiser, but we served together in student council. So John was a delegate at the Honolulu District Student Council board. He was one of the representatives from Kaiser, and so that's kind of where we met. And I heard that he had played music, and I'll never forget the first time we actually played together. We sat in your car in the Kaimuki High School parking lot,
Okay.
and you had your ukulele, and I had my ukulele, and then I was like, oh, you should sing something, and you're like, oh, no, I don't really sing, and I was like, well, I kind of know Brown Eyed Girl, the Cow Critter Boys
Right.
version.
Yeah, that was.
So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I just learned the solo or something like that. So we started playing that in the car, and I was like, dude, man, you can sing, remember? And you're like, I don't know, because you know how John is. Right?
Yeah.
He was just like,
You guys
I
are
don't
all
know.
so humble, by the way.
So fast forward, right? We started playing together with a few of John's friends that also played music, and at one point, our band was like six pieces,
Yeah.
like a six-piece band, right?
Yeah, we've had people come and go, and
Because even Kama used to play with
Yeah.
us. And
by the way, his kid and my kid are on the same baseball team now.
oh wow,
Oh,
So I went to Las Vegas once.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Taz
Taz
came in and sang with
Ra.
us.
Hanale, Natalie.
Oh
We
yeah,
had,
that's right.
Chad. We
Thompson, Enos.
we had
Thompson,
we had
yep.
so many, yeah.
And
But
this
anyways,
was Pure
and
Heart,
Gil.
or this is a different
yeah,
name?
and Gil.
Before we came to
That's
World
right,
Trade.
Gil
Okay.
played bass.
Yeah, people
with
kind of
us.
came and went, and for one reason or another, just never stuck. But the three of us were always kind of there.
Yeah. It's so interesting that Ka'au Creator Boys all influenced you separately. And it was kind of also, what brought you together, or like what you bonded over as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for Cow Creator Boys, for me, hearing their percussionists throwing certain world rhythms over Hawaiian music.
That
Mm.
was
That
Uncle
was-
John,
that was-
right?
that
John
was the first
Porless.
one. Yeah.
No,
John
the,
Porless, Mike Muldoon.
Mike
Oh,
Muldoon,
yeah,
Mike
yeah.
And he
Muldoon.
was also Israel's percussionist. And he
That's
was
right.
inspiration in a certain sense. Along with my father, as far as this modern world.
Yeah.
Well, the first Cow Creator Boys album, Uncle Mike played.
It's all Mike. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I think the
okay.
first two, and then John came in.
And then
Because
John
he was
came
He was
after.
mentoring John before.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, Mike Muldoon is a legend. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you hear the interaction, because in my Puerto Rican world, the cuatro is kind of similar to the ukulele. You're hearing, but then when you hear people take the ukulele and put it into a certain level, you're like, oh my gosh, okay. It's like how this guy took the ukulele.
Totally. Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
what? Like, okay, it makes me want to okay, let's feed. And that's the whole thing too, like feeding off of each other's vibes. And he's such a sponge too. And when I would come in and bring something to showcase, and then he would get it like, oh wow, like a couple of days later, it's like, oh shoot. And next thing you know, he's putting it into like his own mix, like Matrix style. And then John too, it's amazing how these guys catch really fast into like showing them something.
Yeah.
The synergy
I mean,
was just there from the start, huh?
well, one of the things I think John was going to say too is like when Lopaka first came, to our jam session, John and I were just so blown away because I think the first song we played together was Hene Hene Koaka.
Yeah.
It was like Israel Kamaka Vivole's version,
Yeah,
right?
dum,
So we
dum,
started
dum,
playing
dum.
that, and then Lopaka's listening. He goes, "Oh yeah," and then he grabs what's that called? The gyro or the
The one that
gyro?
goes.
Yeah, the
Oh, yeah,
one,
that Guido? Yeah.
the
Guido,
Guido,
Guido.
Guido. And then he picks this thing up, and we're just playing, watching him. He picks this thing up in his little stick. He goes, and he starts like playing, and then John and I just like, what in the, he's just, it was so cool. And but at the time, right, I mean, Lopaka was like already, he had already recorded with Robert Kikaula. He had already been in this, he was already playing in the studio, he was already performing live. He was
in my little conversation.
Yeah, I mean, no, so he was already established, right?
So you
and
were in
playing.
college, and when you were still in high school, you two were still in high school, and then you guys all
Yes.
met when you after you guys graduated.
When I was
Yeah.
19, that was my first actually professional recording. 19, having a call from Robert Kikaula to go and help him out with an album called Kanak Attack. And then after that, I went on the road with cousin John Cruz, Willie K, and Harold Common Jr. Backing him up with guitar. And this is like 2 or 3 years before I met these guys.
So he was already like established. So John and I are just like, I don't think you would play with us.
Yeah,
I
didn't think like, because I don't know how Jake feels about it, but I always felt like a little bit of a fish out of water because we're doing local like Hawaiian music, and here we are two fully
boys.
Japanese guys that are in student council, doing it. But yeah, so Lopaka's really chill, just wanted to jam and stuff.
These guys, their character and their vibe when they came across to me about doing music was very different from other people approaching me to do stuff. And I was like, wow, like they had the eager desire and assertiveness to like work on something. And I come from that mentality too. I guess I don't know what you call it militant, but even though I learned a lot in marching band at the University of Hawaii about discipline, about certain things in the music, and if you're going to work on something, especially during halftime shows at the UH football games, at the rhythm section, we need to memorize our stuff compared to everybody else, and we need to know our footsteps on not just that in everything, and so. I guess I took some of that, and that adapted to what I do professionally. And when I meet guys that really want to work on something, then I try to put that hat and okay, let's do that. And to me, it's like where the magic is. Working with people that want to like create something fresh and new. Like,
I always tell to people, man. Back in the day, you could have got us to play 4 or 5 hours at your party for, just dinner.
2 plate lunches.
We would just sit there and play like for hours and hours just for.
I think I like about it is that not many people want to they want, but like the hours that we've, or just, like this, I don't know if it's the same or not, like this generation compared to the 20-year-olds compared to our generation as far as the work ethic of putting in. I don't know sure if it's the same or not, but that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it makes sense with how successful you guys are, is how many hours you put to get, they have the 10,000 hour saying where, you've got to practice for 10,000 hours to become a master, and you guys put in the time. I think with social media and other distractions these days, people probably don't practice as much. I think they rely more on talent than hard work, whereas, back in the days was a lot more hard work beat out talent.
Yeah, we had 100 songs before. To choose from before we recorded our first
album
set list. To choose from. Right, it was crazy. Like, which one we gonna do? Okay.
Yeah, Lopaka was, he just was so creative. He would throw ideas out there, and John and I would just be like,
I don't.
how do we?
Don't cut yourself short either.
Was,
like you came up with some pretty good stuff. Like
What was going on?
Like I always felt like the band was like, so my role was just to keep my part simple, because we have 2 very dynamic players playing, right? So we can't have everybody going crazy, right? And then so if I keep it simple, then I would just watch these 2 geniuses go off and like, oh, you're playing the pat 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 pat. Well, I'm gonna play a ding a ding a ding a ding. Okay, we'll try it, and we do it again. But you know what? Instead of a pat pat pat, I'm gonna go pat 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 pat, and then okay, I'm gonna do a ding a ding ding ding, and then okay, and that's like go on for hours like that, And I just like okay, and I'm just playing the same thing the whole 3 hours, But that's how our practices would go.
Wow, that's so.
But it was fun to watch those 2. So I wouldn't. I'd say Jake, can you come up with some good stuff too? Like
with Toccata in D minor.
Right. Yeah.
It would be so cool just to be a fly on the wall during those like early, jam sesh.
No, they were so much fun. Like time would just fly by. Like Lopaka would say, we would all go to John's house in the morning and we'd be like, oh, let's just get together for a couple hours. And then it would turn into, like we would be there all night. And then I would always feel bad. Like looking back now, I mean, your parents were so awesome because, because we'd come over in the morning, your mom would always have something for us to eat, right? And then we'd still be practicing. And at lunchtime, she'd be like, you guys got to eat. So she'd cook for us, right? And then we'd still be practicing at night. So she'd be like, well, I guess you guys are staying for dinner.
Guess we're going to get pizza.
Right?
Yeah.
That's right. That would have been something.
Yeah, so-
we create our own live audience based on that. People would come over.
Though it was that?
Our own live audience back then. After a while, we'd come over just to watch us rehearse.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
People start coming in and out of the house.
Yeah.
But the time just flew by. I mean, it was just so much fun, and and then we had similar interests in music, but then we also had our own, like John introduced me to like bands like Dave Matthews. I remember that Dave Matthews,
Yeah,
Tim Reynolds.
CD.
Like that was so inspiring for me when he turned me on to that. He would bring James Taylor tunes, to the table, and all kinds of great like
And
singer
Lopaka would have all
songwriter
this
stuff.
like percussive, like Latin jazz stuff. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he liked rock. So he liked
Yeah,
Santana
I
stuff.
always
and,
loved kind of I gravitated more
Section,
toward like like the
although
guitar stuff.
I still like dancehall crashers because of you.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah, I love dancehall crashers.